and welcome to Unmuted, a show about discovering your voice so that you could build your world. I'm your host, Courtland Warren, and today we're going to explore a commonly held idea, or myth, in fact, about being naturally talented or naturally gifted. A common idea is that of, well, either you have it or you don't. They either got it or they don't. And what we're going to do today is really look to destroy that myth, because I believe it's limiting a lot of people. And one of the ways that individuals have muted themselves. And so this episode is episode number 11. And that for me brings up, I just got to go here real quick. When I think about the number 11, I immediately think about my mom. Those of you who don't know me, I am very, let's just say, I got skinny legs. There's just no other way to do it. I got skinny legs, okay? And so my mom used to say, she would say, boy, you got legs like the number 11. You got legs like the number 11. All right, so you know what? That was a little damaging in the beginning, but then after a while, I'm like, look, if your mama says you're skinny, then you must be skinny. So I thought about doing an episode today's related to that. How to overcome like criticism and yada yada, or sometimes we just got to laugh at what might be viewed as imperfections. But anyway, this is episode number 11. Thank you for joining in. I really do appreciate the support. If you get value from the podcast, my ask of you is that you don't keep it a secret. Let someone know that it does exist. All right, let's look at this idea and see if we can't destroy this myth of the natural. What does it do for those who don't feel that they were naturally gifted or talented? But then also, what about those who do feel they are gifted, they do feel that they have talents that aren't being utilized? In both instances, it turns out that there is a framework that we're able to use that will support you in experiencing more of the greatness of who you are. I was listening to Kobe Bryant. And it was a past interview of Kobe Bryant, and he was the one who actually got me to really start looking at this idea. And his thought was, some people say that, well, you either have it or you don't. And then he followed that with, actually, that's a cop-out. This idea that either you have it or you don't is a cop-out. It's an escapism type idea. He's like, well, because if you don't have it, you can learn it. And I agree with that, right? Everything that you know today, from how to tie your shoe to how to ride a bike to how to drive a car, spell your name, cook spaghetti, okay? Everything that you know and I know today are things that we had to learn. And as we get older, it's as though we forget that there is this learning process. It's as though we forget that there was a time when we didn't know it. As one of my mentors, Marshall Thurber, is one to say, what takes the time in learning is the not knowing. And the reality is that in order to build a resilient mindset, a growth mindset, it does require that we endure the learning. That we're willing to go through whatever is necessary until we get it. And oftentimes what we see or describe as a person being natural, or, whether that's a natural born leader or natural born athlete, there is work that goes in. There are skills that are developed. And sure, we have different physical qualities, traits, characteristics. Again, I got legs like the number 11, right? However, though that may be true, when it comes to extraordinary achievement, superior abilities and skill, it's developed over time. If that were not the case, then everybody who was over 6'5", 6'6" would, make it to the NBA, and we know that not to be true. Now, it is when you have certain, physical traits, qualities, characteristics, and you mix that with the effort and the work, now greatness can be achieved. What really sparked this conversation today was I was listening to a mentor of mine. His name is Keala Kanai. And Keala is, I was listening to him present, and he says, and there was a moment where he said, he was talking about himself and what he's created over time. And he looks right into that camera lens and he says, I built this man. And I looked even closer, and it looked like, like tears were welling up in his eyes, and I could feel it. I mean, it struck me to my core, and I heard it again. He said, I built this man. And what he's getting at, right, and I happen to agree with this, is that, who I am today is not the person that I've always been. And sure, there are signs of success and achievement, and there's evidence of what I desire becoming real. I see that, but it is also quite irritating, sometimes frustrating, when someone says to me, "Well, you just have it. You're just a natural at it." Whether that for me is in speaking, presenting, or working with individuals, how I listen to clients. It is not natural. I did not come out of the womb this way. When you look at successes in business like a Keala or athletes, it is not, when I think about Simone Biles, let's say, right? As a gymnast, and this is because I'm like in Oakland, they just had the United States Gymnastics Championships. I mean, she wasn't in it. But anyway, when you think about great athletes like a Simone, there's work that goes in when no one is looking, when no one is watching. It's turning on the gym lights at 4 a.m., 4:30 a.m. while everyone else is asleep. It's beating the coaches there, beating your teammates there to get the extra repetitions in. And what happens is, because that work goes in, then when the lights come on, there is this level of excellence that is displayed, and it could make it look like everyone else pales in comparison, but it's more likely the case that is because work went in that others weren't willing to do. And so this idea of either you got it or you don't, that's a myth. Because if you don't have it, you can learn it. Right? There's the myth of this natural. I don't want you to buy into that, particularly if you're a person who does not feel that you were, blessed or bestowed with some incredible or extraordinary abilities. There is no esoteric being that sits high and looks low and is picking and choosing who wins. I used to think that. I used to believe that. I used to believe that there was this higher power that I called God, who was choosing who was going to win and who was going to lose. And I recognize that is actually an escapism theology. And it removes responsibility from me or whoever subscribes to it. And now there is justification or a reason not to put in the work, not to be in the practice. Because, well, if it was meant for me, it would happen already. That is, my mom might listen, so I'll not use that term. Anyway, that doesn't work. So what if you're a person who doesn't feel like you're one who was gifted, but then also what if you are that person who feels gifted, you feel talented, but you're not seeing it realized, right? It's not manifesting the way you want it. Right. You're a person who's been muted. You're in your life experiences along the way, something happened, something occurred whereby you stopped believing. And so we can destroy this myth of the natural talent primarily in 5 ways. Number 1, those who truly become great. The high achievers, those who go beyond the average or the mediocre. One of the things that they do for sure is they prioritize key things. They're not distracted by low level trivial distractions. They prioritize, and they are almost militant. They are obsessed about their practice and their fundamentals. one of the real keys to that is they win the mornings. They win the morning. You cannot win your day if you don't win the morning. Now, I'm not a workout buff, okay? But I have learned that when I can start my day off by doing the thing that I really didn't want to do, that becomes a mental victory to start my day, as opposed to saying I would, but then the bed being more comfortable, saying I will, but then getting distracted by low priority things early in the day. And before I know it, I've missed my workout. If you will determine that you're going to win your mornings, if you will determine that you are going to go through your morning ritual, your morning routine, that develops, I mean, yeah, there are health benefits, but more, it's the mental benefits. It's that it's now you can move through the day with confidence, knowing that you didn't lose first thing in the morning. One of the things I've noted about people who are unmuted and are excelling and achieving, they prioritize the key things. And one of the key things is they win the morning. I'm not saying it's 4 a.m. It'll be whatever time it is for you, but there needs to be enough time in your morning where it's just you. To jump out of bed, run into work, or jump out of bed, handling matters of family, or jump out of bed, going right to your phone and social media and so forth. All of those things begin to influence your thought process, your psyche, your mental conditioning. And so if it means that you need to develop the habit of waking up 30 minutes earlier or 45 minutes earlier so that you can have some time for you, do that. Do that. Because by prioritizing your mornings, or by essentially prioritizing yourself in the morning, you win the day. And that's one of the things that great achievers do. They practice and prioritize key things. One of those being they win the morning. Number two, they visualize. It's written down. I was actually working out with my trainer just recently, and he made a distinction that I've never thought about. I was like, I may have to change some of the things that I've been saying. He was like, don't just dream. He said, I don't want dreamers. He said, I want people who have vision. And I'm like, working out. I'm like, okay, what's the difference? And then he went on to say, he said, because in order to dream, I got to be asleep. But with a vision, I'm awake. He said, I want you awake going after what it is that you want. Don't just dream it, because if you dream, you're sleeping. But if you have vision, you got to be awake to have a vision. I said, whoa, he got a point. He got a point. High achievers, people who are unmuted, right? They have a vision for their life. They have a vision for what they want. And that is a great distinction from just the dreamers, right? Because the dreamer is asleep. And maybe the dream feels good, but then they wake up. They wake up and it's time to get to work. It's time to actualize. And they haven't developed the mental disciplines to do so. So be one who has a vision, and that vision is made plain. Number one is they practice the fundamentals. They prioritize key things. And very essential, they win the morning. Number two, they visualize. They don't just dream, they visualize, and it's written. It is written. It is written down what they desire. That gives them a place to focus as they move through the day. And that vision informs or dictates the actions that they will take, the high priority things that will lead to that vision being actualized. The third thing is they are very protective of their environment. And so again, what we're exploring here is we're debunking this idea or this myth of the natural, and through research and findings, we're uncovering what it is that they actually do, okay? And so number three is they are very protective of their environment. What do I mean by environment? Music they listen to, shows they watch on television, the books they read, how they consume information, when they consume that information, who they hang out with, their associations, friendships, and so forth. Notice how often you hear about, great, entrepreneurs in business and so forth, and they get termed as, man, Steve Jobs, he was obsessed. Elon Musk, obsessed, crazy. Tiger Woods, Michael Jordan, obsessed, crazy. It was like it's all they thought about. They were just consumed by it. And as I find myself moving into this creative obsession, I hear it more and more. Man, it's like, is that it? Is that all we're going to talk about? For right now, yeah, it is. It's all I'm going to talk about. Because I'm in the process of building. And it is so important to be protective of the environment. And so if you notice for yourself that every time you start to talk about your vision, every time you start to talk about what it is that you want, someone's looking to shush you or, have you believe that you're over the top, you're a little too radical, or you're obsessed with the idea, then they may not be your people for right now. There is a level of obsession that is required in order to bring a thought to a thing. In order for you to operate and act as the alchemist that you are, and moving, changing the form of energy, it is deliberate, it is focused, you are locked in and intentional. And so high achievers are people who are very protective of their environment, and they scrutinize ideas, they scrutinize things. They don't just let information come in, especially information that they're emotionally attached to or emotionally connected with. They don't just hear those things and let it be. They question it. And so I challenge you to question the thought that, there's a natural born talent or a natural born leader. Question this idea that either you got it or you don't. Because if you look in your life right now and it's not there, you could rest in the idea, well, I don't got it, so I can't have it. And that is simply not true. If you don't got it, you can learn it. So number one, they prioritize the small things. They visualize, it's written down. Number three, they are very protective of their environment. Number four, they self-promote. See, there is a degree of self-promotion that is required. Why? Because when you have an offering for the world, people have to know that you exist. That's what the marketing is about. That's what it's really about. It's not about just being seen. It's not about, you need to be liked. No, you have a gift. You have something to offer the world, and the world must know that you exist. The world has to know that you're there. Otherwise, what's the point? This idea of build a better mousetrap and they'll come. No, only if they know where you are. So you could be the best in the world at what you do, and if no one knows that you exist, it's pointless. There is a degree of self-promotion, and so when it comes to being unmuted, and bringing voice and finding your voice and creating your world, you got to be willing to declare it. You got to be willing to shout it from the rooftops that you are the best in the world at what you do. And if you are looking for this offering, if you're looking for this service, I'm the person to do that with. One of the things that I know about Courtland is I am an alchemist. I am the best in the world at having people shift or transform the beliefs that have them settling for less than what they deserve. I am convinced that I am the best in the world at that. What are you the best in the world in? And are you willing to declare it? Are you willing to put your name on the line? Are you? Because when you get to that place, you unmute that microphone called your life, and you're willing to declare it, and you're willing to be scrutinized, and you're willing to be held accountable to it. You're willing to be challenged on it. You're willing to be tested. And here's what happens though. Here's what happens. Of course, there'll be naysayers, critics, and trolls. We're not giving energy to them. Now the people who are looking for what you have to offer, those individuals know where to find you. And so if you truly believe that what you have makes life better for them, then it's a responsibility. It's not just something you're born with or not. You get to the place where you're willing to self-promote and essentially declare that you're the best. So number one, they prioritize the fundamentals, the small things. They win the morning. Number two, they visualize what they want, and it's written down. They move at incredible pace and speed, primarily because they've seen the end. They know how it turns out because their vision is so clear. Perhaps they'll be laughed at, perhaps, there's criticism, but they've already seen the end, and so they have the fuel to move forward. Also, they're protective of their environment. They're mindful of what they read, what they listen to, what they watch, who's in their circle. Because these things not only inform their thoughts and beliefs, it informs their viewpoint of the world. And then lastly, they're willing to declare through self-promotion. They're willing to say that this is who I am. This is what I bring. This is what I'm about. And here's why. Here's why I'm the best. Here's why. Here's why. And they're willing to put their preparation on the line at the moment of decision or action. The confidence comes not from a place of boasting, not from a place of arrogance. The confidence comes from knowing that you've had disciplined practice. The confidence comes knowing that the moment will not be too big for you because you've prepared for it. The nervousness goes away. And it's replaced with excitement because you practiced harder than the moment will even require of you. And that's why you're confident. It's, Brad Faxon, one of the great putters in golf. Okay. Even today, he's now gives lessons to current professionals. And by many respects, by many accounts, he was one of the greatest putters that has ever played golf. And, someone asked him about how he got there, and someone even made the comment that he was a naturally born putter, and he stopped him immediately. He said, that is not true. He went on to say, it irritates me. It irritates me when people say that I was naturally born as a good putter. So it doesn't even make sense. You don't see an infant putting. He's like, I practiced. He said, when I stand over a putt, I expect to make it not through magic. I expect to make it because of the hours of practice that I put in. He said, and in tournaments and when I get on the green, I expect to make it because I practice more than anyone else in the field. What can you say that about? What can you say that about? What can you say you've practiced and developed more than anyone else has? What can you say you've worked harder at than anyone else? What skill have you developed more so than anyone else? And what would it be like if you did? My friend Kiala said, I built this man. That resonated with me. Because highly successful people, the achievers that we read about and study, they are not born. They are built. Born, no. Built, yes. And what's great about that is it's something that we can all do. Are you willing to pay the price of mastery, of skill development? If so, get ready, because you're going to achieve uncommon success And people will tell you, they will say about you, they will describe you as one who is natural. And you'll correct them. And in your correction of them, it's a reminder not only to them, but to anyone who's listening, that achievement is a process of skill development and mindset. And we can all do that. There is no esoteric being who's determining who wins or loses. We do that. We do that through our willingness to put in the work. Prioritize the fundamentals. Go win the mornings. Visualize it. Write it down. See the end result. Protect your environment. Be mindful of your conversations, the music that you listen to, the books that you read, your news source, because it influences and informs your ways of thinking. Be willing to self-promote. Make it known that you exist, that you have an answer to their problem, that you are a solution. Doing these things, we dispel this myth or idea of it being natural. And we recognize that it's built, not born. I hope this helps. If it does, don't keep it a secret. Let someone know that it exists. If you haven't already, I encourage you to join my email list and newsletter. Today is June 26th, and June 27th, we start the resilience course, email course on building resilience. You can join the email list. Go to info@courtlandwarren.com, info@courtlandwarren.com. Just send me an email there, or better yet, just go to my website, courtlandwarren.com, COURTLANDWARREN.com, and just enter your email address and download Kaizen, an ebook about the truth of what it takes to get better. Thanks for listening. You're appreciated. Have a wonderful day.